I know you've been there. Like, you're in the front of the boat, you got your buddy in the back of the boat, and you're like, dude, I'm gonna catch him, bro. And then all you hear from the back of the boat is zzz, zzz, and you don't got dick. Like, nothing on the freaking counter, dude. So my buddy Garrett from North Carolina and his friend came down to Guntersville. They had some boat issues, so like one afternoon, I'm like, dude, just jump in the boat with me, dude. Let's go fishing. Huge mistake, right? Not really, he's a good dude. But they get in the boat, I catch a couple on like a worm and stuff like that. And bro, they're sitting behind me, just one after the other. 3-pounder, 4-pounder, 2.5, like railing them. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And they're like, well, we saw David Dudley doing this little kind of thing up shallow that's a little bit different. And so we thought we'd try it. And I'm like, that's good enough reason to me. Dudley's pretty stout, right? So I'm like, dude, I gotta learn this. So I went back out and started playing around with it and tweaking the presentation. And I wanna show it to you. Like, it's super cool. And when they won't eat that Texas rig worm and they're being super funky and they're shallow, but you gotta make a finesse presentation around cover in the grass, it's an awesome tool. So hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna show you how I got schooled. So everybody thinks of the drop shot as kind of like an offshore deep water technique, right? Super clear water, you're fishing like 10, 20, 30, 40 feet deep, dude. This rig, I've actually used it in Florida for targeting deep offshore cover. Basically what it is a weedless drop shot. I actually call it, dude, I caught an 11.5 on a freaking 8-pound fluorocarbon to 12-pound braid drop shot set up like this. There's still fish up shallow and the grass is kind of growing up, but it's still semi-sparse. And basically the concept is an ultra light drop shot, but weedless. So you gotta make a few tweaks to the presentation, but dude, it smokes them. And you can pitch it around to some of these isolated targets, you can pitch it around docks, and for some reason, I think it's a lot like with that Carolina rig. You know, I always talked about Peter Thaveros and that light Carolina rig that he used down in Florida that I implement here out on Guntersville. There's something about it where you have that bait elevated off the bottom and it has kind of a freer motion to it and it's up, that it's just a totally different presentation than your Texas rig, and the fish behave accordingly, all right? They react to it totally differently. So the setup is really simple. There's one big key. So you're gonna use your standard drop shot, right? But instead of going to like a 1/4 ounce or 3/8, this is actually a 1/8 ounce. Super light, right? You can go up to a 3/16, but I've found this is the best deal. You can either use a cylindrical one or like a bell style, just like this. The lightweight is especially important because if you do have some silt or some goo on the bottom, it doesn't get hung or clung around that grass as much. If you go up heavier, it's gonna catch on a lot of that stuff and it's actually gonna kill the whole purpose of this. Now, the most important part about this rig is the hook. You know, 90% of drop shots you're gonna do with like that Aaron Martin style kind of little round bend circle hook, like a wacky rig hook, just that open hook. We see the smallmouth guys up north doing it all the time. We do it with a Nico rig, a wacky rig, just a little open hook. This is a robo rebarb hook. Basically, there's a lot of variations now. Back in the day when we were doing this on offshore, like brush piles and structure, there weren't a lot of options. I think now Owner has one, VMC, like they have like a cover shot or something like that. It's basically a straight shank hook. It almost looks like a flipping hook, but microtized, right? It's got a little keeper on it. It's a little, I'd say like a 2/0 or a 1/0. I get the medium wire. I don't get the light wire because obviously there is cover around. We're fishing grass. We're fishing like around stumps. You know, sometimes there's gravel, things along those lines. And dude, we're on Guntersville. There's some bigs, right? And I want to open the hook. So I get like a more medium style, but it needs to be thin gauge enough so that I can use it. I throw this deal on a 610 Halo KS2 Elite. This is one of my favorite little plinking rods. I use this for Ned fishing a lot too. I got a Revo rocket on there, super high speed, and there's 12-pound braid. To usually I'll use 10-pound or even 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. But having that hook just stout enough to kind of take care of a fish in that cover, but light enough so that you can actually set the hook on them is hugely important. So what are the baits that you're using? You already saw one of them. You know, ever since Lee Livesay went and like threw those pink baits, pink has been a super popular color. It used to be kind of under the radar, not so much, but pink is a killer color. And the reason for it is, one, it stands out. these fish see it and it kind of looks like, I think, like a shad to them or something along those lines, but it's also, it's weird, right? It's bright, it pops, and I'll tell you a secret too, it's not just a spotted bass or a smallmouth deal. These are the two kind of basic colors that I'm using. The Aaron's Magic is kind of like a green pumpkin, sort of magic craw, kind of blue iridescent blend. It has that perfect sort of semi-transparency, but it's dark enough to be kind of a, you know, a semi-stained water kind of bait. And dude, they absolutely eat it. Like literally, I buy robo worms in this color and then that Morning Dawn. Those are like practically the only two I have in the boat. And then the Morning Dawn is just that blend of like a pink, violet, kind of like a white swirl. Once again, super transparent, especially in that top laminated layer. And they eat it, dude. I don't care if the water's stained or if it's ultra clear. They absolutely chomp it. I usually throw the 6-inch straight tail. I'll usually use that one when I'm fishing for largemouth. I want a little bit bigger presentation. The water's warmed up. These fish are eating things that, like, they're post-spawn, they're going into summer, they're eating things that are a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier. I don't like some of the big, thicker worms that actually robo worm makes. They make like a 7-inch or like a fat, like, straight tail. Not a huge fan. I like the classic straight tail 6-inch. Seems to be the best with hookup ratio, as well as having a nice longer, like, presentation. You can also do this if you got some worms laying around, like a standard trick worm, right? Like a zoom trick worm, a Sweebo worm, and you can do some weird colors. There's a lot of color variations, methylate, green pumpkin magic, you know, there's a lot of different color variations you can do. The reason I like the robo worm is they have that crazy pouring technology where like robots pour them or whatever. They're super soft. Now that has its benefits and its downsides, right? The benefit is awesome action, especially with the warmer water. Dude, they quiver and do all this shenanigans when you're not even shaking the bait. So they're moving a lot. However, they do tear up a whole bunch. Like, so they're super soft. You're gonna go through a lot of baits, but in my personal opinion, you get a lot more bites with it. All you're gonna do is Texas rig it. It's a real easy presentation. And contrary to what you would think, it actually comes through the grass like super clean. I'm throwing this around like milfoil clumps, around hydrilla that's coming up. It's really easy around the eelgrass because the eelgrass is just like a straight stalk, but even like stumps. Like I'll see a stump on my forward facing on that Garmin and I'll pitch it right to it, dude, and just sit there and shake it. And you're able to kind of present that bait in one like place, I guess you could say, but you're able to keep it moving. It's almost kind of like bed fishing, right? Like that bait is moving, it's above the bottom, and you can sit there and shake it. You can let it sink down for a second and then pop it up. You can do a lot more with it in one place. Say you're on, like, we got a point right next to us. There's a little bit of a shell bar on the tip. You can do a lot more with it in that small area than you could with like a Texas rig, and especially with like a Carolina rig where you actually have to move it to kind of get that bait going. It just gives you a lot of versatility. One other little bait it allows you to present are these guys. These are little minnow baits. These are the Kitech Shad Impacts. They're a cool little kind of twitch bait, and once again, it's that versatility, right? It's your ability to present, you know, maybe that worm Dangleson, that might be viable, but what if there's a shad spawn? What if there's a bunch of minnows up shallow, a bunch of fry or something like that, and you want that more minnow or that little fry style kind of shad look to your bait? It allows you to hook that thing up. So that diversity and that ability to present something beyond just your standard worm is hugely important. The only time I'm really picking this thing up is when it's tough, right? Or when these fish are eating a little more elevated, I'm having to shake that bait above that. Super killer technique. Definitely like a different presentation and a different feel from like Texas rig. And bro, I don't know about you, but when I get schooled and guys like totally freaking catch them right behind me, I open my eyes and I'm not all cranky about it. Maybe I am for like a minute. You gotta get a little cranky for a second. But once I get over being butthurt, I'm like, dude, I need to implement this. I need to learn how to do it, and I need to fish it. And that's exactly what I did. I turned around and bro, I went to catching them. So I guess I should say thank you, Garrett, and thank you, Dudley, dude, because you guys opened my eyes to kind of taking something I was doing offshore, out deep, and then reimagining it for up shallow. And that's what a lot of these tricks are. It's not so much reinventing the wheel, but taking something that you're comfortable with, that you know catches fish, and reapplying it in a different situation where they don't see it nearly as much. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you guys got any tips for grass fishing or shallow water fishing at drop shot, drop them down in the comments box for me. I'm gonna go actually slang it, dude. It's a perfect day. It's cloudy. These fish are up shallow. They're gonna be schooling. It's a perfect little follow-up bait for like the chatterbait and things along those lines. I will see you later, hopefully catching some big bass. Later, my homies.